I want to ask you simply today that the study of history suffers, in my view, from regional biases and political biases. Okay? If in the state of Assam, the greatest hero of Assam, Lachit Borphukan, is not studied as part of the CBSE syllabus in a big way. Right? He also fought back. He has a role in our history. He fought back the Mughal invaders when they came into Assam. What is the reference to Lachit Borphukan in our national history? How much emphasis is given to Bhagat Singh? Was it because Bhagat Singh's point of view at that point of time was not agreeable to those who were controlling the Congress? Was it because he was making the then Congress insecure with his mannerisms? What is the emphasis to Bhagat Singh and Lachit Borphukan? Who will correct that? Just because there aren't enough people to root for them? So you
I fully agree with you, Arnab. This is the point I'm making. You're saying the correct thing. I mean, look at the Naga revolt, the Sannyasi revolt, the subaltern revolts. These are important. Even the Tebaga Andolon. I'm not saying that you have to do away and wish away Marxism. It's a question of emphasis, as you said. What is the emphasis?
Who decides the emphasis?
Marx in 11, Marx in 10,
Who decides
Marx
the emphasis?
in 9. I think academicians have to do it.
Are you convinced that this is not, tell me honestly, are you convinced that the whole, what is happening in Bengal, right or wrong, is about, somebody said that, you know what, I think there's too much of Marx, bring it down by 50%. Or there's too much of Lenin, bring it down by 60%. Is history like making a fruit shake? That you decide which fruit to put in how much amount, depending on what color you want.
I just don't know. I just don't know whether it is
totally true.
No, I fully agree. I don't know whether it's the politicians who are taking the decision, or is it an academic decision. That has to be found out. We only know what we hear and what we read.
Clearly not an academic.
And I'm not willing to give full marks to anyone for that.
Well, yes, you want to come in, Professor Mahajan.
Well, Arnab, I'm so glad you talked about Bhagat Singh, because how can we have something called what Ashok Vishwanathan is calling an Indian view of history, and especially Indian view. I mean, we can't understand Bhagat Singh without understanding Marx. We can't understand Bhagat Singh without understanding Lenin.
Exactly.
Bhagat Singh was inspired by the Bolshevik Revolution. Let's not forget that. So was the entire Hindustan Socialist Republican Army that he was part of, and many of the revolutionaries from Bengal and Punjab and elsewhere in the 1930s. So let's not glorify some kind of revivalist notion of Indian history and counterpose it to some
but at the same time
notion of world history, which the Marxists have been.
No, I don't agree. I don't agree, Professor, that whatever movement that took place in India is because there was inspiration from Marx. I don't think the Santhal Revolution had any indebtedness to Marx at all. The Santhal Revolution.
Well,
please respond to it then.
Obviously not, because that was pre-Marx. But that's not the point. I'm not saying that. I'm saying
that's what I'm saying.
You cannot separate.
That's not studied. That's not studied.
You cannot separate trends in Indian history from world history. Let's not become frogs in a well, surely. But,
do you deny that Stalin was given a place in the academic books despite the kind of atrocities committed by Stalin, who is a product of the Bolshevik Revolution?
But I didn't know history is about creating demigods.
So what about Hitler?
No, about history is history only about good people or bad people, and whose definition of good or bad applies. My only question tonight, ladies and gentlemen, let me steer this debate back.
Don't teach Hitler?
Let me steer the debate. You're a professor of history. I'm not, but as a common man, I have a question here today. My question is that both sides, the intolerance. In March 2011, I think there was a Bengali version of Animal Farm. I don't know if Ashok knows about it. This particular incident that happened, it was
yes.
It was to be staged in a high school ground. A police officer arrived with a team. There was a complaint of a former CPIM MP, and the Bengali version of Animal Farm was stopped from being staged, right? That's one side. But the other side is that I'm also told that in August last year, Trinamool Congress workers, they beat up an economics professor. Beat him up, thrashed him, because he spoke about Tagore and Marx being relevant so many years after their death. I mean, why don't we just tell the politicians to...
No, this has to be condemned. Any kind of... No, absolutely, Arnab, I agree with you 200%. If this is the case, they have to be really reprimanded. And also, if there is a kind of insidious motive on the part of the syllabus making committee to actually present an ideology, if any,
I have a question for you, Ashok.
that also has to be questioned.
Ashok, I have a question for you. I have a question for you.
Sure.
My question for Ashok is, you know, Sujyo Sen were greatest revolutionaries, right? Freedom fighters. He was influenced by Karl Marx. So will Mamata Banerjee ban the study of the Chittagong revolt?
No, I mean, that's the same what Professor Mahajan is saying.
No, you get my point.
Against Marx. I mean, I'm telling you, what can I have against Marx?
No, you don't, but I said this question.
At class 11, 12, there was too much of it.
Yeah, but you know, I think the United Front needs
the ideology, it was biased. I would request Professor Mahajan to go through those textbooks which were studied by class 10
Okay, now let Professor Mahajan respond.
By a
Professor Mahajan's response. Yes, please respond in detail. Go ahead.
Well, I've certainly seen the textbooks in West Bengal, not only the ones that, Ashok is talking about, but there have been a lot of studies which have been commissioned by the UGC many years ago about communalization of textbooks in schools in North India, and as well as looking at biases in textbooks in Bengal. And there's no doubt about it that during the 34-year period that the CPM was ruling West Bengal, there was a lot of politicization of education and not in the right direction. So I'm not at all batting for a certain kind of dogmatic Marxism, as you might think. All I'm saying is these are fresh, impressionable minds that we're talking about.
Yeah.
There is a huge...
Correct.
There is a whole lot of stuff that, in fact, what we need to do is we need to arrive at a societal consensus. Intellectuals, policymakers, historians, and most important, teachers and students themselves on what kind of history should be taught and learned.
But for that...
And once that is in place, just 1 second, can I finish? Once that consensus is in its place, let's leave it there for 10 years.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there for 20 years. Let us not have a situation that the moment a new regime comes into power, the first thing they do is to throw out one kind of history and bring in another. Let the leaders please make history. Leaders are meant to make history. Let them please leave the writing and rewriting of history to the professional historians and teachers. That's my plea.
Rulers over many years, and that's a historian you'd know, have always attempted to tweak history a bit. 2010, I think, is different from the 15th or the 16th century. They need to change their attitude there. If you want to decide what you read, what newspaper you read in a library, what color should be seen on the streets of Kolkata, and you want to decide what history should be read in school, there is a problem. To Professor Mahajan and Ashok Vishwanathan for that scintillating chat tonight. Thank you.
Can I just one word?
Okay, very briefly.
I agree with you entirely.
Doesn't the lady has to have the last word?
I agree with you entirely. This, business of color. Yes, I agree with both Arnav and Professor Mahajan. She put it very beautifully. I just want to say that this business of coloring and all that
it's ridiculous.
Extremely childish.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
But let us give the syllabus makers a chance.
Yeah, but I'm wondering what the syllabus makers were doing till the election happened. Syllabus makers wake up every 5 years after an election. I mean, that's completely ridiculous. Thank you very much to both of you for joining me on that chat tonight. Thank you.